Welcome to Eurovision Kiki. We're three Americans who have fallen in love with Eurovision. I'm Doug.
I'm Steven.
I'm Katie, and here on Eurovision Kiki, we're bringing you the best information about the Eurovision Song Contest.
We'll bring you the music, history, traditions,
and all the tea currently surrounding the world of Eurovision.
And we are here for another Eurovision Kiki. Thank you for joining us. It is going to be a good time, I think, today. Before we jump into our discussion of the day, do we have any news updates that folks want to mention? I know that we have Poland, who finally said, hey, we're going to show up to the party.
About time. So 36 countries confirmed with that one, correct?
Oh. Yeah, so
yeah, we're still waiting to hear from Moldova.
What song? Yeah, now we just need to wait for Poland to announce what song Jojo Siwa's gonna sing.
No, thank you.
Everyone go stream People's Champion because it's great.
It's a banger.
Yeah, tell me more about that. I'm like late to the party, so
it's crazy. It's party.
What is People's Champion?
It's Karia's new album. Like it's his whole album drop where, you know, I think Cha 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 is on it. Like, so it's like actually on an album now. And it's crazy. It's Party is on it. So like, you know, some songs that you already know and then some newer ones, at least for me. But yeah, it's his whole new full-length album.
Temporarily
lost your mind.
Temporarily lost my mind, but you can also revoke my like Eurovision fan card for like a hot millisecond, because that's how like lost I was when you sent that text out yesterday. I was like, I'm gonna let this one go and I'm gonna write it out for as long as I can, but I was also just like, what is she talking about? But thank you.
Google is free, so you could absolutely have figured it out, but thank
Google
you for just not responding and not choosing to follow up at all. Like, okay.
I figured I would use my vulnerability in this platform to just be like, I need you to clarify something for me, please. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Well, when you sent the text to mention it, I wasn't sure if you meant like the individual song or that whole album. And I was like, I choose to think she loved the entire album.
I like the whole album. Like I haven't I've listened to it through like once at this point, but yeah, so I can't really pull out necessarily individual songs that I don't already know. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Cars the whole album.
As soon as we're done with this, I'm gonna just kind of inundate myself in all of that. I think it's safe to say, you know, at the time of this recording, even though we are not avid followers, it's just quick shout out, you know, Junior Eurovision will be off and running later this week. They've got their final or their live show coming up this coming weekend on the 16th of November. So best of luck to all of those countries and performers that are competing this year. So we will hopefully know who will be crowned champion for Junior Eurovision 2024 by this time next week. So best of luck to all of them that are competing.
Have either of you listened to any of those? I have not.
No.
I haven't.
Maybe that's
best
something
of luck
that we
to
dabble
them.
in. Yeah, next year. But
yeah,
not something I've been dabbled into just yet.
So on that note,
I don't make
maybe
a point of having children be my entertainment, but you know,
Kids Bop.
Yeah.
2025. I don't know.
On that note, how about we talk about some Eurovision songs? And today we are going to dive into songs or artists who have represented multiple countries or tried to represent multiple countries. This particular topic is inspired by BESA from Albania, who is going to be trying out for San Marino after, of course, she represented Albania with Titan. And of course, we also had those rumors that were flying that maybe Joost was going to participate for Belgium after participating for Netherlands. So today's episode is inspired by both of them.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to note that during this past year's Eurovision Song Contest, that hosts Petra Mieda made a quick reference that this is something that's been done in the past as well, that we've seen past performers represent other countries that are not their home countries as well, so that this is something that we've seen done before. I think she had made mention that the United Kingdom has had folks that have done this. We've seen this happen in past decades, and so this is stemmed from a very, very long time ago. So I'm excited for us to kind of dabble and take a look and see some spotlights and some songs that folks might want to take a listen to, and artists that have come out of this category.
For sure. And so the ones that I had sort of put together that I shared with you, Stephen, and Katie, were ones that were a little bit more in the quote unquote modern era. So within the last 20 years or so. So is there any particular one maybe you want to start off with?
For me, we can just start right away with I think her name is pronounced Ranella Ajati. I know from 2022 she represented Albania with her song Secret, which was really one of the ones I truly enjoyed until she didn't qualify, and then they awkwardly panned to her right after they announced the 10 finalists that made it, and then they looked right at her and she had nothing to give them because she's like, I didn't make it.
Oops.
Sorry.
They looked straight at her and said, what do you got? And she said, nothing.
Yeah. It's just luckily no middle fingers.
Yeah, I was going to say it could have been a France.
It could have, but instead she just kind of was like sad face, waves goodbye. No, it looks like she did try to perform or compete and represent San Marino back in 2023, but did not qualify. Instead, we had another representative that was selected instead. But her performance from 2022 was not horrible. It's just when it came down to it for the 10 in semifinal 1, she just did not make the cut. But I have my own internal feelings as to why.
Well, tell us more, obviously.
She didn't hit the high notes when needed there towards the tail end of her song. There was some cracking that happened, and it just didn't land where it needed to. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I really enjoy the song. I look at some of the ones that did make it, and you're going, Iceland made it, and she didn't. Like, what happened?
There was that.
So I do feel bad that she didn't make it into the finals. I will say that I find it very interesting that there's this like Albania San Marino connection. Is there something I don't know? What am I missing?
That is true. Now that we're kind of starting right there, is Spanish like another language that
like
if I know Albanian, I obviously know Spanish? Is that?
Yeah, I have no idea. And it's just, I mean, I think maybe it's like San Marino doesn't have a lot of people who, end of sentence, but but maybe they just don't have a lot of people who could represent them. I don't know why they would be coming from Albania, but it is just like, I think it's just hard with those smaller countries sometimes to find the artist that represents you, and it feels like San Marino sometimes kind of freelances a little bit. But
it's potential, right? San Marino is not that big of a country, so sometimes you just kind of need to lure them in a little bit if you need to just get some more folks in.
And like we'll see it with we saw it with Cyprus a couple years ago, where it was like, yeah, sure, like he was of Cypriot descent, but he's an Australian person. So I mean, you just kind of, especially with those smaller countries, like you just kind of grasp, find somebody.
Well, and they could be potentially going for the notoriety of it. Like, hey guys, I represented this other country in Eurovision. you should want me to go and represent your country.
I would think that would work better if you won with one of those countries.
Well, what are you going to do? Sorry, guys, I didn't qualify, but you should totally send me.
Look, I did it, kind of.
Participant award.
I mean, you know.
Still a rager. I mean, you still have a good song that just doesn't qualify.
Right.
It's true. Oh, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. We talk about that all the time. There's so many that we don't know why they don't qualify or why things get chosen the way they do sometimes.
Yes. One of the ones that I want to mention is Anastasia. I'm not even going to try the last name. Starts with a P. Anastasia. She represented Russia in 2009 with Mamu. And she got to the finals. She placed 11th. I enjoy her song. What I think is interesting is that she then went on to try to represent Ukraine in subsequent years. But if you do kind of a deep dive, you find out that she was trying to represent Ukraine all along. And like there's a controversy and she was disqualified from the Ukraine national finals. And so she went over to Russia and was like, hey guys, can I represent you? And so
okay,
interesting.
I didn't do this deep dive, so I would like to hear more about it, please.
Well, it just talks a little bit about her participation came with a number of controversies following her disqualification from the Ukrainian national final and subsequent queries regarding the integrity of the judges and validity of the competition. Afterwards, she took part in the Russian national final and won. So she was like, oh, you're going to disqualify me? Fine, I'm going to go represent Russia.
Wow.
And in hindsight, what a choice.
Well, so then she tried. She was like, okay, Ukraine, let's try this again. And she was a finalist in 2011 with a song Action. And then in 2016, I Am Free Now, she made it to their semifinals. So she definitely went back to Ukraine, and it talks about her being sort of an activist and activist, politician, and former singer-songwriter. So with that kind of a lead in your Wikipedia page, you're probably not really welcome in Russia.
Yeah.
Chances are they've got strict no. Do not.
But enter. It is funny because for a authoritarian, yikesy kind of place, Russia has been represented by some activists in the past.
I mean, every Russian woman needs to know. You're strong enough, you're going to break the wall.
Exactly who I'm talking about.
Doug's favorite song.
We love a Russian woman.
We do.
You do, don't you?
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about another one that sort of stands out for me, and that is another more recent one, and it's our girl Taya from 2023, a very popular one amongst the three of us, from Austria, with their song "Who the Hell is Edgar?"
Who the hell is Edgar?
Who the hell is Edgar?
Who the hell is Edgar?
A fan favorite amongst us, coming in 15th place when it was all said and done back in 2023, but also has some history in Eurovision. So, Doug, tell us more about that one.
Well, this is the one I thought was pretty cool in the sense that she had tried to be at Eurovision prior. So we saw her in 2023 with Who the Hell is Edgar? But back in 2020, she went to Austria with a song called Judgment Day. And this was an internal selection. So I don't know the song. I couldn't find it anywhere, haven't listened to it, but she had the song Judgment Day. It wasn't selected for Austria. So she said, you know what? I'm going to rework this and I'm going to take it to Serbia. So she then reworks it into Serbian, goes to their national finals. Now, she only placed 10th at their finals, so she didn't win, but I just find it very interesting that she was like, "Oh, Austria, you don't want it? Fine, I'm going to rework it and take it somewhere else."
That is, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, right, that she would do that, because it seems like a lot of artists are doing this. It's kind of like a common thread amongst all of them. I also know, because I think she had vocally expressed this in an interview during, I want to say, the Turquoise Carpet event, or it could have been something that I saw way back in the day on like the Eurovision Instagram feed or something to that extent. But she has done Eurovision songwriting camps, and so I know that she has had a lot of connections to a lot of other songwriters, not just from Austria, but from other countries that participate in these songwriting camps too. So it doesn't surprise me that if one country is not picking up her songs, she's gonna, take them to other countries. But that's cool that she's like, Austria said no, I'm gonna take this to Serbia, see what they say. Takes it.
Serbia also said no.
Serbia also said no, but they at least let her compete with it and let them vote it out and say it before they finally said no.
So another one that I think is worth mentioning is also another relatively recent. We have Victor Krone, who represented Estonia with the song Storm in 2019, which, if I'm not mistaken, made the finals, but did not place very high in those finals.
Correct.
But Victor participated, was in a small, representing a small country. Then in 2020, goes and tries out for Melodi Festivalen from Sweden with Troubled Waters and placed 9th. And then again in 2023, tried to go and represent Sweden with Diamonds, placing 6th. So part of me is like, okay, well, you did your Eurovision thing, and then you wanted to like up your game to go with a little bit more of a quote unquote powerhouse country, but didn't make it out of the national finals.
They can't all be winners, Sometimes you just gotta.
I didn't mind the songs. I mean, obviously, like,
I didn't either.
Sweden is going to have tough competition. Like, they know how to write a song. So it's almost like getting 6th place at Sweden's national finals is like representing a smaller country. And I'm not trying to throw shade or be rude, but it's a big deal in Sweden. So I do encourage folks to look it up. Troubled Waters and Diamonds by Victor Krone, Crone. So I enjoy them. I thought they were good. They were pop. They were what you'd expect. And so the kind of the last couple of ones I wanted us to at least briefly mention is from folks from Macedonia. I'm going to butcher some names. Tijana Dapsevic. Maybe we'll go with that. She represented Macedonia in 2014, and that was an internal selection. The song was called To the Sky. Sadly, it was a non-qualifier because they got 13th place in semifinal 2, which kind of
first of
seems
all,
accurate.
I think her name is like Tijana Dapsevic. No, I'm just kidding. Totally not.
Loindici.
You can't make Loindici your whole personality, girl. Jeez.
Second of all, haters, no.
It's me, I'm haters.
Gaslight. Gaslight,
girl boss gate.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful song. And it was, I think, just in 2014, it was a very competitive year, and sometimes you just have yourselves in a situation where if you're in a very competitive semifinal, it's hard to get out of there.
Yeah.
And I think that
we see it every year where, a good song doesn't make it out of semifinals because they drew the short straw basically and got into kind of the tougher semifinal, which happens randomly. So you can't always help that.
Yeah. But interesting that, years later, we find them competing again in the national finals for a different country.
Well, and that's what I thought was interesting. So she represented in 2014, and then it wasn't just like, oh, next year. Like, there was a significant gap, and then in 2022 goes to Serbia's national finals.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And that was the year that Betty Strava went in to compete for them instead. So, like, how can you compete with that song?
Well, how can you compete, period? Because they got 11th place out of 18, so it's not like they...
Oh. That's going to be
It's cute that you tried.
Yeah, but just no.
But the one I ended up falling down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and this is where I came across... Well, obviously I found Tijana, I don't know. But her sister, Tamara? Is that how her sister?
Tijana and Tamara. Tia and Tamara.
Tia and Tamara. That's basically what it is. We've got some sister here. But Tamara represented Macedonia actually twice. But the one I want to highlight is 2008. She was part of a group, and they sang a song, In the Name of Love is the title. And it is a non-qualifier. But if you are a very savvy Eurovision fan, you're going to know that this is a little bit of a controversy, potentially. So back in 2008, there was this rule that basically said the top 9 songs are going to qualify automatically. That is a combination of jury vote and public vote. And then the 10th song is going to be like one of the jury's top songs that hadn't already been selected. And so Macedonia technically came in 10th place, but because the jury's top song came from like Sweden, they kicked out Macedonia and Sweden gets in.
Girl. I'm glad we live in the Eurovision era we live in now, because I think I would have broken my TV.
I was literally about to say, I'm very thankful that this is no longer a rule.
Yeah, that's insane.
Because if you look at points wise, North Macedonia got 64 points. Sweden had 54 points. But I guess because the juries really like Sweden, sorry,
shocker,
North Macedonia, you're cut. If I was Macedonia, I would just be like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore.
Although...
too soon?
No. I mean, think about it. Like, Australia this year would have been the replacement, wouldn't they? Like, they would have in semifinal 1.
Because juries since juries don't participate in the semifinals.
Oh, that's right.
Anymore,
I forget about that part.
But yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is the crowd that hates juries in the semifinals, this could be the hill that you die on as to why. Like, if you need a reason,
that's a strong reason.
Right. Man. Sorry, Sweden. Sweden did not qualify. You were not good enough. And then the juries were like, actually, we like Sweden enough.
They were good enough for us.
That could have been, and that could have, I mean, Sweden is one of the ones that has one of the longest streaks too of qualifying to grand final, and that could have like broken a very, very, very long streak.
This seems a little dirty, maybe some collusion.
A little collusion is exactly what
a little bit of a rigged system.
I'm just saying. If everything's rigged these days, right? I just assume life is rigged. I mean, the Chiefs being 9-0, like, that doesn't happen accidentally.
Girl, don't even get me started.
I knew that was gonna.
Too soon.
Is Katie triggered?
Sand.
Okay.
Here we go.
When you have, imagine if we had like Laureen talking straight to some judges of like some jury of a different country being like, you're giving me your 12, right? Like that would cause a major thing. Not Patrick Mahomes saying to the ref, let them know when they get close to me about the defense.
Point blank.
Being caught on the broadcast and having them like talk about it on the broadcast, because even like the commentators couldn't ignore it because it was so blatant. And it's like,
hot mic.
How are we still doing this? Oh my God. Okay.
I love that you made the Eurovision connection there, because people listening are like, sports what?
I know. But I mean, it really is just like, imagine getting a hot mic moment of
that.
Nemo talking to jury delegates from a different country.
Or anyone.
And like saying like, or even just saying like, give so-and-so 0 points. Like if you catch anyone, especially someone who's winning, girl.
We have questions. And
I'm
just saying, like, you can't tell me that at least one of these is not in life. it's not rigged in some way. Like,
no.
And
we
figured out that wrestling was fake.
The artist. Exactly. And if it's not directly an artist that is having these conversations with juries, that it's other jury delegates having some behind closed door conversations with other jury delegates. We can't have one episode without us going down a conspiracy. Exactly.
I mean, see, they're not conspiracy theories if they're true. There is such a thing as an actual, just genuine conspiracy. Look at Watergate. Look at the Chiefs.
That's the conspiracies. Sorry, Tamara and your group, for 2008. You were robbed.
Rude.
She did go on and try again. She did represent Macedonia by herself in 2019, so 11 years later. That's another big gap. With her song "Proud," where she placed 7th. So good for her.
At least she made it that time around. So.
Right. Yeah. She was like, I don't need this group. I can do it on my own.
Yeah. So. And proud of her.
We are proud of her. So there's a couple others that we went down a road on. I'll just briefly mention them. There is Feminim. I don't know how we say that, but
Phenomenon. I don't know either.
Phenomenon.
Phenomenon. I don't know.
But represented Bosnia and Herzegovina, or however that is said.
Not
Herzegovina.
But there's like no T in it.
There's a Z.
Oh, well, yeah, I always pronounce my Z's with a T.
Sometimes, I mean, come on. Sometimes you got that hard...
like hurts. Like the hurts.
That does have a T in it.
That does have a T. But okay, so represented Bosnia. We're just gonna go with that. In 2005, with the song "Call Me," and got 14th place, and then went to represent Croatia in 2010, and was a non-qualifier. Oopsies.
It happens.
So that was kind of a downgrade. I guess you got to go to Eurovision twice, but
yeah.
So I think that one stood out because it was not just I'm going to try and represent another country, but straight up represented 2 different countries.
Mm-hmm.
And one other that I'll just throw out there, and this was a long time ago. Like we're talking like Ryan and Roger's age old. Anne-Marie David was the winner of Eurovision in 1973 with Luxembourg. Tute Reconnaissance. that was butchered, I'm sure. That was my Loindici moment.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
she won from Luxembourg in 1973. And then, 6 years later, in 1979, represented France and got third place. So those are two really good outcomes for two very different countries.
Yeah.
I mean, not very different. Like, probably they were both French.
They're French speaking, yeah.
Je suis les François.
Children of the sun.
Better.
I'm getting good.
Yeah, we are the children of the sun.
We are the children of the sun.
You are basically French now.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm getting ready, but I'm not.
We got that Duolingo subscription. You are killing it.
getting those green approvals one step at a time. So, but proud of all of us, and proud of all of these performers that, you know, one country says no and another one will always say yes, and sometimes we all say no.
Sometimes they'll say you can try out for us. We might not send you, but you can at least try.
And then there's that. So good on them. I'm excited to see how BESA does this year in her attempts to try and represent San Marino, and we'll see if 2025 is part of her journey or not. And, you know, if Belgium is serious, and if Just is truly in talks with them about coming back for 2025, we sure as hell know that he's saying no to the Netherlands. But if there are truly talks happening between him and Belgium, I welcome that, because I would love to see him have his redemption. Or he could
Belgium
also
can
just
go
be
from
like,
one team to another.
Or he might just say, I'm good altogether, and say absolutely no to Eurovision, period. But we'll see.
Or the countries could say no to him to Eurovision.
Also that.
And with that, I think we're in a good spot. I do want to let our listeners know that we have national finals that are starting up at the end of this month. Is Montenegro and Montasong. I believe that's happening on November 27th. So there are 16 songs that have been released. I encourage folks to check it out. They have a YouTube channel with all of their songs that are available. So if you really are like, let's get this party started, Montenegro's kicking it off.
And you can also catch this information, and you can catch a lot of the stuff on there on Instagram. You can follow them at Eurovision Montenegro, at montasong.rtcg as well, to get all of your updated information. And in the meantime, if you want to just keep following us along on this lovely journey, by all means, please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our content here on Spotify and YouTube. You can also stay in touch with us and keep up to date on all of our content on Instagram and TikTok at Eurovision Kiki. One day you might have a question that's just burning inside of your head, and one day we might have a Q&A segment here. So if you got questions, email them to us at eurovisionkiki@gmail.com. But in the meantime, thanks for listening, and we'll see you all again at our next Kiki. Bye.
Bye.